The moment you defend yourself, something invisible breaks. Not your argument, your position. You feel it in real time, the tightening in your chest, the rush to explain, the urge to correct, clarify, justify, and suddenly, without noticing how it happened, you're no longer standing tall. You're standing on trial. Here's the truth most people never realize. Defending yourself doesn't make you look innocent. It makes you look reachable. Reachable by manipulation. Reachable by doubt, reachable by someone else's narrative. Watch closely how power actually works. The person who accuses controls the frame. The moment you rush to respond, you accept their frame as valid. You step into their reality, their assumptions, their version of events. And now you're not leading, you're reacting. That's why some people provoke you on purpose. They don't want truth, they want movement. They want to see you scramble for words. They want to feel your energy bend toward them. Because the second you defend yourself, you hand them something priceless, your emotional authority. Think about it. The most grounded people you've ever met don't explain themselves constantly. They don't rush to clean up misunderstandings. They don't chase perception. They let silence do the work. And silence does something brutal to the wrong people. It removes their leverage. It starves their drama. It exposes their intention. When you don't defend yourself, the spotlight shifts. People stop watching you and start watching them. Why are they so invested? Why are they pushing so hard? Why does this matter so much to them? Silence flips the power instantly because it refuses to play the game. This isn't about being passive. It's about being untouchable. It's about knowing who you are so deeply that no accusation can pull you out of your center. Your truth doesn't need a performance. Your character doesn't need commentary. Your life speaks louder than any explanation ever could. And once you understand this, you stop wasting energy proving yourself to people who benefit from misunderstanding you. In this video, you'll learn the psychological reason why defending yourself weakens your position, why silence destabilizes manipulators, and how refusing to explain turns you into someone no one can control. If you've ever felt drained after standing up for yourself, this will change how you move forever. Stay with me. And if this hits something real inside you, subscribe to Soulless, because awakening is easier when you're not walking it alone. Why defending yourself hands over control? Defending yourself feels natural. Almost automatic. Your body reacts before your mind can catch up. A surge of heat, a tightening jaw, a rush of words forming faster than they should. Because somewhere deep inside you, you were taught that silence equals guilt. That if you don't correct the story becomes truth. That if you don't speak up, you lose your right to be seen fairly. But this belief is one of the greatest psychological traps ever embedded into the human mind. Because the moment you defend yourself, you stop leading the interaction and start chasing it. You don't notice it at first. It happens quietly. You think you're protecting your integrity, but what you're actually doing is surrendering control of the frame. Power never belongs to the person explaining. Power belongs to the person who doesn't need to. The one who defends has already accepted a lower position. Think carefully about how accusations really work. An accusation is not a question. It is a positioning move. It places one person above and the other below. The accuser becomes the judge. The defender becomes the suspect. Even if the accusation is subtle, even if it's wrapped in concern, even if it's disguised as curiosity. Why did you do that? That didn't sound like you. People are saying, I'm just trying to understand. These aren't invitations to clarity. They are invitations to submit. The moment you rush to explain, you validate the premise that you owe clarity. And that is where the power shifts. Because now you are no longer expressing truth. You are responding to pressure. Most people don't realize that defending yourself is a performance. Your tone changes, your breathing shifts, your words become careful, your posture tightens. You start managing impressions instead of standing in certainty, and the other person feels it instantly. They may not understand it consciously, but on a nervous system level, they sense the imbalance. They feel bigger. You feel smaller. That's not because you're wrong. It's because you entered a frame where you were never meant to win. Here's the part that hurts to accept. Many people who provoke you are not confused about you. They are strategic about you. They already know what they're doing. They know that if they say something just sharp enough, you'll jump in to correct it. They know if they hint at doubt, you'll rush to prove yourself. They know if they question your intent, you'll start explaining your heart. And once you do, they have what they want: your attention, your energy, your emotional engagement. You defending yourself is not a threat to them. It's their reward. This is why some people seem to win arguments even when they're wrong. They never enter defense mode. They stay calm, detached, observant. They let you do the emotional labor. They let you justify. They let you chase clarity. And when you're done explaining, they simply nod or shrug or dismiss. And you walk away feeling exhausted, misunderstood, and strangely diminished. Because something was taken from you. Not your truth, your power. Defending yourself also does something dangerous internally. It trains your nervous system to associate worth with reaction. Every time you rush to explain, you reinforce the belief that your value depends on being perceived correctly, that your peace depends on being believed, that your identity is negotiable. Over time, this creates a fragile self-concept. You become hyper-aware of tone, of rumors, of opinions, of whispers. You start living in anticipation of needing to clarify yourself again. That's not confidence. That's psychological surveillance. And it drains you. Here is the truth awakened people eventually confront. If someone is determined to misunderstand you, no explanation will save you. And if someone truly knows you, no explanation is required. So who exactly are you defending yourself for? Usually, it's for people who benefit from keeping you unstable. Because when you are busy defending yourself, you are not acting freely. You are not choosing intentionally. You are not leading your life. You are reacting. And reaction is always weaker than direction. There is another layer to this that most people never consider. Defending yourself keeps the conversation alive. It prolongs the interaction. It feeds the dynamic. It gives the accuser more material. Every explanation becomes another angle. Every clarification becomes another detail that can be twisted, misremembered, or reframed. Silence ends things. Defense multiplies them. That's why manipulators love when you talk, because the more you say, the more control they gain. At some point in your evolution, you begin to feel it in your body. The moment someone challenges you, your old self wants to jump in. But something new arises. A pause, a stillness, a sense of, I don't need to carry this. And in that pause, you feel the shift. The realization that you don't owe access to your inner world to anyone who questions it aggressively. You don't owe explanations to people who arrive with conclusions. You don't owe emotional labor to those who profit from your confusion. And most importantly, you don't owe your energy to people who are trying to destabilize you. This is the beginning of real power. Not dominance, not intimidation, not control over others, but control over yourself. The moment you stop defending yourself, you step out of the psychological courtroom. You refuse the role of the accused. You refuse the need to be validated. You refuse the frame altogether. And when you refuse the frame, the entire power structure collapses. Because without your participation, there is no trial. There is only noise, and someone making it alone. This is why silence feels threatening to the wrong people, because it reveals that they never had authority over you to begin with. The moment silence exposes the manipulator. Something unsettling happens the first time you choose silence instead of defense. It feels wrong at first. Your instincts scream to respond. Your mind races through explanations. Your body braces for conflict. And then, nothing. You don't speak. You don't correct. You don't clarify. You don't rush to save your image. And in that stillness, the person across from you begins to unravel. Because manipulators do not fear truth. They fear absence. They fear the moment their words land in a void instead of on your nervous system. They fear silence because silence removes resistance. And without resistance, their force has nowhere to go. Watch carefully what happens next. At first, they pause. They expected a reaction. They expected emotion. They expected engagement. Then they speak again, slightly louder, sharper, more certain. They repeat the accusation. They add details. They raise the stakes. Still, nothing. And now the mask begins to crack. Because without your defense, they have to carry the entire narrative alone. Their tone shifts, their logic weakens, their emotion leaks through. They start contradicting themselves. They start exaggerating. They start revealing motive. Silence does not hide truth. It pressures it. Manipulation requires participation. It needs feedback. It feeds on reaction. Your defense used to be the oxygen. When you cut that oxygen off, the fire dies. And in its place, the real intention emerges. This is why silence is so dangerous to people who operate through control. They cannot dominate what they cannot destabilize. They cannot confuse what refuses to engage. They cannot reframe what stands outside their frame. And once you see this, you can never unsee it. There is a reason manipulative people escalate when you stop defending yourself. They aren't getting clarity, they're losing power. Their accusations become more dramatic, their tone becomes moralistic. They begin framing themselves as victims. Why? Because the original tactic failed. They tried to pull you into defense. You didn't enter. Now they need a new angle. This is where most people break. Not because the manipulation worked, but because the pressure increases. But awakened silence is not fragile. It holds. And when it holds, the manipulator exposes themselves completely. Here is the psychological truth. The one who needs you to explain is the one who needs control. Someone genuinely seeking understanding asks questions. Someone seeking dominance makes statements. When you defend yourself, you reward the statement. When you stay silent, you force the question. And most manipulators have no real questions, only narratives. Silence also does something else, something deeply unsettling to the wrong people. It removes their ability to define you. When you explain yourself, you offer material for them to interpret. When you defend yourself, you give them context to twist. When you stay silent, they lose authorship. They can talk about you, but they cannot shape you. Your identity becomes uneditable, and that loss of control is what terrifies them. This is why silence feels powerful in your body. Your breath deepens. Your muscles relax. Your thoughts slow. You're no longer chasing resolution. You're no longer anticipating rebuttal. You are present. And presence is authority. There is a moment, almost cinematic, when you see it in their eyes. The moment they realize you're not playing. The moment they sense their usual tools aren't working. The moment their certainty collapses into confusion. That moment is not aggressive. It is quiet, and it is irreversible. Because from that point on, they know something changed. They know you cannot be handled the way you once were. This is why silence ends cycles. Arguments that used to drag on for weeks die in minutes. Gossip that used to haunt you loses traction. Passive aggression falls flat. People who relied on your defensiveness lose interest. Because there is nothing left to extract. Here is the deeper transformation. When you stop defending yourself, you stop defending the old you. The version of you that needed approval, that needed to be seen correctly, that feared being misunderstood. Silence marks the end of that identity, and the beginning of something unmovable. You begin to understand that being misunderstood is not a threat. It's a filter. The wrong people leave. The right people lean in. Those who want to control you feel uncomfortable. Those who respect you feel safe. Silence does not isolate you. It clarifies your world. This is the moment you realize defending yourself was never strength. It was survival. And survival is no longer your operating system. You are no longer trying to get through the moment. You are shaping the field. And silence is how you do it. Why calm dominance terrifies the wrong people. There is a kind of power that doesn't announce itself. It doesn't posture. It doesn't threaten. It doesn't need to raise its voice. It simply stands. And to the wrong people, this kind of calm is terrifying. Because calm dominance cannot be provoked, cannot be rushed, cannot be cornered. It does not react on command. And anyone who relies on emotional chaos to feel powerful instantly feels exposed in its presence. Most people mistake dominance for aggression, for volume, for force, for intimidation. But real dominance is the opposite. It is composure under pressure, stillness under accusation, clarity under distortion. It is the ability to remain centered while someone else is spiraling. And when you stop defending yourself, this kind of dominance emerges naturally. You don't try to assert it. You don't perform it. You don't even think about it. It simply becomes the way you move. The wrong people sense this immediately. They feel the shift before they understand it intellectually. They feel that you're no longer reachable through guilt, that you're no longer hookable through accusation, that you're no longer controllable through pressure. And this realization creates panic. Because calm, dominance removes their leverage. Watch what happens when someone tries to provoke a calm person. They test the tone. They test the boundary. They test the story. They throw out a subtle jab, a loaded comment, a sideways accusation. And when there is no reaction, no tightening, no justification, no emotional spike, their nervous system spikes instead. Because dominance inversion has occurred. The one who expected to control is now unsure. The one who expected submission meets neutrality, and neutrality is unreadable. This is why calm dominance feels threatening. It denies others access to your emotional center. They cannot tell if you're angry, hurt, offended, or indifferent. And because they cannot read you, they cannot control you. Control requires predictability. Calm removes predictability. This is also why calm dominance is often mislabeled. People will say you're cold, detached, unemotional, arrogant. But what they're actually reacting to is the loss of influence. They were used to pulling reactions out of you. They were used to shaping conversations by triggering you. They were used to watching you explain, justify, bend. Now they're facing someone who doesn't move, and that creates unease. There is something primal at work here. In nature, the animal that panics is prey. The animal that remains still, observant, centered, is not. Your calm signals that you are not under threat, and that signal alone changes how people approach you. This is why arguments stop before they start. This is why confrontations dissolve. This is why people choose their words more carefully around you. Not because you demanded respect, but because your presence requires it. Calm dominance creates gravity. People orbit differently around gravity. Here is the internal shift that makes this possible. You stop confusing reaction with strength. You realize that the urge to respond was never power. It was conditioning. Conditioning that told you to prove yourself, to correct misunderstandings, to protect your image. Calm dominance doesn't protect image. It protects center. And when your center is stable, everything else becomes irrelevant. You begin to notice how often people escalate when they cannot provoke you. They talk more. They accuse louder. They exaggerate. This is not strength. This is desperation. Your calm becomes a mirror that reflects their instability. And that reflection is uncomfortable. The most interesting part is what happens inside you. Your body no longer floods with adrenaline during confrontation. Your thoughts stay clear. Your breath stays deep. You don't rehearse responses after the fact. You don't replay conversations in your mind. Because nothing was taken from you. No energy leaked. No center was lost. This is the psychological shift that changes everything. You are no longer defending yourself because there is nothing to defend. Your identity is internal now, rooted, stable, untouchable. Calm dominance also changes how you choose your battles. You stop engaging with people who want reactions. You stop correcting people who don't listen. You stop arguing with those committed to misunderstanding. You stop explaining to those who arrived with conclusions. And life becomes quieter. Not empty, clear. There is a moment when someone finally realizes they cannot move you. They stop pushing. Not out of respect, out of recognition. They know now that their tactics no longer work. And once that realization lands, the dynamic is permanently altered. This is why calm dominance is feared, because it cannot be negotiated with. It does not compromise itself. It does not beg to be seen. It simply exists. And existence on your own terms is the highest form of power. You stop needing to win. At a certain point in your awakening, you realize something that feels almost illegal in a world addicted to conflict. You don't need to win. Not the argument, not the explanation, not the perception, not the narrative. And the moment this truth lands in your body, power rearranges itself around you. Because winning was never about truth, it was about validation. And validation is the currency of those who haven't claimed themselves yet. Before this shift, every confrontation felt like a test. If you didn't respond correctly, you feared being misjudged. If you didn't defend yourself well enough, you feared losing respect. If you didn't explain your intention clearly, you feared being misunderstood forever. So you fought. You fought for clarity. You fought for fairness. You fought for the last word. You fought to correct the record. But beneath every fight was the same unconscious question: will you see me the way I see myself? And that question is where your power leaked. Winning an argument requires the other person's agreement, and the moment you depend on someone else's agreement to feel whole, you have already lost control. This is the truth awakened people eventually face. The need to win is the need to be validated, and the need to be validated is the last chain binding you to reaction. This is why manipulators love debates. They don't care who's right. They care who's engaged. As long as you're trying to win, you're still playing. As long as you're explaining, you're still feeding the system. As long as you're defending, you're still invested. And investment is vulnerability. The shift begins quietly. You notice it the first time someone says something unfair and you feel nothing. No surge, no urgency, no desire to correct. You hear it, you register it, and you let it pass through you without grabbing it. This feels wrong at first. Your old conditioning screams, say something. Don't let that stand. Correct them. Defend yourself. But a deeper voice answers, I don't need to win this. And in that moment, you feel a strange calm. Not resignation, not defeat, freedom. Because winning always required effort. It required emotional labor. It required energy. It required tension. Letting go of the need to win releases all of it at once. You no longer rehearse arguments afterward. You no longer replay conversations. You no longer imagine what you should have said. Your mind goes quiet. And silence is where your real authority lives. There is a profound psychological truth here. People who need to win are still trying to prove something. People who don't already know who they are. When you stop needing to win, you stop giving people access to your identity. They can disagree. They can misunderstand. They can project. None of it enters you, because your sense of self is no longer on trial. This is when the power truly flips. The person trying to provoke you realizes they cannot hook you. Not because you're stubborn, but because you're done negotiating your inner world. They feel the absence of resistance, the absence of emotional charge, the absence of payoff. And without payoff, their effort collapses. Something else changes too. You stop attracting confrontations. People sense that arguments won't land. They feel that debates won't energize you. They realize that pushing you won't produce drama, and unconsciously, they stop trying. Because conflict needs friction, and you've become frictionless. This does not make you passive, it makes you precise. You still speak when it matters, you still act when necessary, you still draw boundaries. But you no longer confuse reaction with strength. You respond only when response serves you. Not your ego, not your image, not someone else's narrative. You speak from clarity, not compulsion. There is a moment when you look back at all the energy you wasted trying to win people over, trying to be understood, trying to correct false impressions, trying to defend your intentions. And you feel something close to grief. Not for the arguments, but for the version of you who believed their peace depended on winning them. That version did their best, but you have outgrown them. The day you stop needing to win is the day you become unmovable. You don't rise to provocation. You don't chase resolution. You don't explain yourself into exhaustion. You stand. And standing without needing approval is the most destabilizing thing you can do to someone who thrives on control. Because now, they have nothing to push against. And without resistance, their force turns inward. They lose balance. You don't. That is the real victory. How silence rewrites the power dynamic forever. Once you stop defending yourself, the change doesn't just affect one conversation. It rewrites every dynamic in your life, slowly, permanently, without asking permission. At first, it feels subtle, almost too small to matter. You speak less. You pause longer. You respond only when something truly deserves a response. But beneath that simplicity, something massive is happening. The power balance is shifting, and people feel it before they understand it. Most social power dynamics are built on reaction loops. One person provokes, the other reacts. The first gains control. When you defend yourself, you feed the loop. You keep the cycle alive. You keep the hierarchy intact. But silence breaks the loop. And when a loop breaks, the entire system has to reorganize itself. This is why silence doesn't just stop arguments, it restructures relationships. People who once felt entitled to your explanations suddenly feel uncertain. They don't know how to approach you anymore. They don't know which version of you will appear. They don't know what tone to use. They don't know how far they can push. And uncertainty is destabilizing to people who rely on dominance. Because dominance depends on predictability. You start noticing changes. People soften their accusations. They hesitate before speaking. They ask instead of assume. They choose their words more carefully. Not because you demanded respect, but because your silence recalibrated the hierarchy. You are no longer positioned below them. You are no longer trying to earn fairness. You are no longer seeking permission to exist. You stand as an equal, or more accurately, as someone who doesn't play ranking games at all. Some people react badly to this, very badly. They escalate. They accuse you of being distant, cold, uncommunicative, arrogant, passive-aggressive. But these accusations are not feedback. They are withdrawals. They are the emotional equivalent of someone slamming a door because they lost access. What they're really saying is, you are no longer behaving in a way that benefits me. And that realization marks the end of the old dynamic forever. Here's the truth most people avoid. When you stop defending yourself, you force people to take responsibility for their behavior, and many cannot. They relied on your reactions to avoid accountability. They relied on your explanations to redirect focus away from themselves. They relied on your emotional labor to maintain the illusion of control. Silence removes all of that. Now their words sit alone. Now their accusations echo. Now their intent is visible. And that visibility is unbearable for those who never wanted truth, only leverage. This is why silence feels powerful, not just externally, but internally. Your nervous system begins to reset. You are no longer bracing for confrontation. You are no longer anticipating defense. You are no longer rehearsing explanations in your head. Your mind becomes quieter, and a quiet mind is a dangerous thing to anyone who wants to manipulate you. As the power dynamic rewrites itself, you notice something else. You start attracting different people. People who don't test boundaries. People who don't provoke for control. People who don't need emotional dominance to feel secure. These people don't demand explanations. They don't question your right to say no. They don't frame conversations as trials. They meet you in clarity, because clarity attracts clarity. At the same time, certain people begin to drift away, not because you pushed them out, but because silence removed what they were feeding on. Drama, control, emotional reactions, uncertainty. Without those, there was nothing left for them. And this is where the transformation deepens. You stop mourning the loss, because you finally see what was actually happening. They weren't losing you, they were losing access. Silence also changes how authority figures respond to you. At work, in family systems, in social hierarchies. When you stop over-explaining, people assume competence. When you stop justifying decisions, people sense leadership. When you stop reacting emotionally, people attribute strength. This is not manipulation, it's perception psychology. The brain associates calm restraint with status, and status reshapes behavior. You begin to move differently. You enter conversations without anxiety. You leave without needing closure. You let misunderstandings exist without chasing them. Your presence becomes final. Not harsh, not rigid, final. And finality is power. The most important shift, though, happens inside you. You stop seeing silence as something you do. It becomes something you are. A groundedness, a stillness, a self-trust. You no longer feel pulled by every misunderstanding. You no longer feel obligated to manage perception. You no longer feel the urge to rescue your image. You trust reality to correct itself, because it always does. Truth does not need protection. It needs time. This is why silence rewrites the power dynamic forever. Once people know you will not defend yourself, they stop trying to put you on trial. Once they realize you cannot be provoked, they stop trying to provoke you. Once they sense your identity is self-contained, they stop trying to define it. And once that shift happens, there is no going back. Because power, once reclaimed, is never forgotten. When others lose access to your inner world. The most unsettling moment for others is not when you confront them. It's when they realize they no longer have access to you. Not access to your time, not access to your words, but access to your inner world. Your thoughts, your emotions, your reactions, your insecurities. For a long time, people could reach inside you without permission. A comment could shake you. A look could destabilize you. An accusation could pull you into explanation mode instantly. They knew where the doors were, and you left them unlocked. But silence changes that. And when those doors close, something deeply uncomfortable happens for the people who used to walk through them freely. Most. Human relationships are not built on equality. They're built on access. Who can affect whom? Who can trigger whom? Who can pull a reaction? Who can cause guilt? Who can create urgency? When you stop defending yourself, you revoke that access. Quietly, without announcement, without confrontation. And that is what makes it so powerful. Because people don't realize what they've lost until they try to reach for it again. At first, they assume you're distracted, tired, busy. They test the old entry points. A subtle jab, a familiar criticism, a passive comment disguised as concern. Nothing. No reaction, no shift, no explanation. Then, confusion sets in. They try again, this time more directly. Still nothing. And slowly, a realization creeps in. They no longer live inside your head. This is where panic begins for some. Because access was never about connection. It was about control. They were used to knowing how you'd respond, what would hurt you, what would make you explain, what would make you soften. Your predictability made them feel powerful. Now you are unpredictable, and unpredictability destabilizes dominance. You begin to notice strange changes. People start oversharing around you. They talk more. They fill the silence with nervous words. Why? Because your stillness creates psychological pressure. Silence forces self-awareness, and many people are desperate to avoid it. When you don't reveal your inner world, others start revealing theirs. They project, they confess, they expose. Not because you asked, but because silence invites truth. There is a deep psychological reason for this. Humans seek equilibrium. When one side withdraws emotionally, the other side compensates. You stop giving, they start leaking. You stop explaining, they start justifying. You stop defending, they start accusing louder, then apologizing, then backtracking. All of it is the nervous system trying to restore balance. But the balance has changed, and it will not return to what it was before. This is where your internal shift becomes irreversible. You no longer feel responsible for regulating other people's emotions. You don't soothe their discomfort. You don't clarify their assumptions. You don't rescue them from the silence they created. You let them sit with it. And that is the most compassionate thing you can do for yourself. Because your inner world is not a public utility. It is a private territory. Losing access to you forces people to confront something they've been avoiding: themselves. Without your reactions, they cannot externalize blame. Without your explanations, they cannot redirect responsibility. Without your emotional labor, they cannot avoid introspection. This is why silence feels hostile to those who thrive on projection. Because projection needs a screen, and you have gone dark. You may notice that some people suddenly accuse you of changing. They say you're distant, different, harder to read, harder to talk to. They are right, but not in the way they think. You haven't become distant. You've become contained. Your emotions now belong to you. Your thoughts now stay inside. Your reactions now pass through awareness instead of escaping your mouth. You are no longer transparent by default. And transparency without boundaries was never vulnerability. It was exposure. This containment does not make you cold. It makes you selective. You still open up, but only to those who have proven they can hold you safely. You still speak, but only when words will serve truth, not tension. You still connect, but without surrendering your center. And that selectivity raises your value in every interaction, because what is not freely available is instinctively respected. The most powerful part is how this feels inside your body. You are no longer bracing for emotional intrusion. You are no longer scanning conversations for hidden attacks. You are no longer preparing defenses before words are even spoken. Your nervous system stands down. And in that calm, clarity emerges. You start seeing people for who they actually are, not who they pretend to be when you're emotionally engaged. Silence removes the fog. There is a moment when you realize how much of your exhaustion came from being emotionally accessible to the wrong people. How much energy you spent maintaining peace that only benefited others. How often you abandoned yourself to keep dynamics comfortable. And you feel something like grief, but also relief, because you finally closed the door that should have been locked all along. Once access is gone, the hierarchy changes permanently. People cannot control what they cannot reach. They cannot destabilize what they cannot touch. They cannot dominate what does not respond. Your inner world becomes sovereign territory. And sovereignty is the highest form of power. When you become untouchable without force. At the end of this path, something irreversible happens. You don't decide to stop defending yourself. You simply can't anymore. Not because you're tired, not because you're bitter, but because your nervous system no longer recognizes attack as something that requires response. This is the final transformation. The moment you stop mistaking noise for threat, you realize something with frightening clarity. Most people were never challenging your truth. They were testing your availability, testing whether you'd bend, testing whether you'd explain, testing whether you'd shrink yourself to make them comfortable. And every time you defended yourself in the past, you were unknowingly saying, "I am open for negotiation." But now, something inside you is closed. Not your heart, not your empathy, your center. And once the center is closed, power no longer leaks. You begin to move through the world with a quiet finality. You don't rush to be understood. You don't rush to be liked. You don't rush to be forgiven for things you didn't do. You let misunderstandings exist without chasing them. You let people sit with their projections without correcting them. You let false narratives collapse under their own weight. Because you've learned the most dangerous truth of all. Reality corrects itself when you stop interfering with fear. Your silence is no longer reactive, it's deliberate. It doesn't come from avoidance, it comes from discernment. You know when to speak, and more importantly, you know when silence will do more damage than words ever could. Because silence forces accountability. It forces others to confront their motives, their tone, their intent. And most people were never prepared for that mirror. At this stage, you no longer feel the urge to explain your character. You understand that character is not something you announce, it's something time reveals. You stop correcting people's opinions of you because you understand opinions are reflections, not verdicts. You stop defending your truth because truth does not need armor. And suddenly, you feel something you haven't felt in years: stability. Not the fragile kind that depends on approval, the deep kind that remains intact even when misunderstood. You become someone who can sit in silence without anxiety. Someone who can be misjudged without panic. Someone who can walk away without needing the last word. And that ability to leave without noise is the signature of real power. People respond differently to you now. Some feel uneasy because they can't read you anymore. Some feel exposed because your silence reflects their chaos. Some feel drawn because your presence feels grounded, safe, unmovable. But none of that matters as much as this. You trust yourself now. You trust your perception. You trust your boundaries. You trust your inner authority. And trust in oneself is the end of manipulation. This is the final lesson. The world only controls those who keep explaining themselves to it. The moment you stop defending yourself, you don't become invisible. You become unreachable. And nothing terrifies control more than someone it cannot reach. So tell me, now that you know silence is not weakness but sovereignty, what part of your life are you finally ready to stop explaining?